and welcome back to the PreMatch Meal podcast, where we look back at last week's fixtures and we're going to look forward to next weekend as well. There was some discussion about talking points that have come up over the last couple of days as well. But as of the time of this recording, just so you know, we're doing this on Tuesday, so the Europa League fixtures, although they might have been played by the time you're watching this, we don't know the result yet. There's no match fixing going on at UEFA as far as we know, so sorry, we don't know the result. But we'll start off. I'm joined by Kieran Burns again. How are you doing, Kieran?
I'm great. It's good to be here.
Good. So I think you enjoyed the weekend. Celtic winning then, aye?
I was quite surprised. I thought we upped it a wee bit and we looked really sharp. Best performance of the season, I think.
But we'll get into that a little bit later on because we like to do things in order here. So we'll start off with last weekend's fixtures and we'll start off with Saturday's games. First of all, Hamilton v Dundee United. That ended a draw, one which I was tempted to take, by the way, in the prediction, but I never. But we'll let you know how we got on in that as well as we go along. But O'Doffin, he scored 3 in his last 5 games for Hamilton. He got an equaliser, but the guy that I want to talk about is the guy that scored the goal after 4 minutes, Lawrence Shankland. That's 2 and 2 for him now. Surely that'll be him in a bit of form now. Do you think?
Yeah, and I think as well he's shown he's not just like people keep saying he's just he doesn't just score goals. He also his hold up play is excellent. He's really all round a great player up front.
Looking at him as well, you wouldn't think that he was a kind of a striker that would be strong and be able to hold the ball up because he's quite a small frame. But no, as you say, he seems to do it pretty well. And for me as well, he always seems to find himself in between the posts, and that's what all good strikers do.
Yeah, totally. I mean, he's proven it time and time again. I don't understand why he's not getting more of a shout, and why teams like Celtic and Rangers are actually having a look at him, even Aberdeen. I
mean, I was surprised for a squad like Rangers. I thought he would have been a perfect fit for them, particularly when you think about who they've got. I know they've brought in Ruffin Itten, but he's somebody that knows the Scottish League and he's done it in the Championship. And as you see, if he's a goal scorer and he's a penalty box striker, surely with better service and a better team. I'm not saying that Dundee United service is good, by the way. If he'll get more goals.
I do think Nicky Clark deserves you mentioned for his good link-up play with Shetland. He does a lot to create the space for him as well. They have a good partnership going on. I think they'll be the difference between Dundee United getting the top 6 to 2 then.
Do you think they will? Because obviously the league's so tight right now, isn't it? You look at it. I mean, Motherwell sitting in 9th, but they're only 3 points off.
Yeah. No, Motherwell have one of the strongest squads in the league. They have a slow start, but you can see they're picking up. I think that I see United nicking 6th spot in the top half. Just.
I would probably go a long way there, but we're on to the team now who just managed to get points. We spoke about that last week. Hamilton, yet again, they come up with the goods.
Aye, and that like you mentioned, the guy they have up top, he's looking in good form. They look really well drilled, Hamilton. That's the thing about them. They're never easy to beat.
No, and then obviously that plastic pitch plays a factor for them as well. But no, do you fancy them to stay up, or do you think they will?
I just think that they have this kind of thing about them where they just refuse to go down, man. They just keep getting results, like we say, and I think there's other teams that are weaker than them right now.
Yeah. There's 2 that we're going to come on to. I certainly think that it'll be down there before them if they don't buck up their ideas. But I just want to talk about Mickey Mellon for a wee bit because he's a guy that was at Tranmere last season and he's come up here. His first job in Scotland. Nobody really knew anything about him. There was all this on social media about your manager's a melon and all that. Dundee United. Certainly proved that he is no melon. He's getting the best out of that squad, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, when Robbie Nelson left, I was worried for United. I thought that would mean they would go right back down, to be honest. And then he's obviously came in there and really done well and filled those shoes really well so far. So it's all looking good for me in the perspective. They just need to make sure they're a bit tight at the back.
Yep, and so we'll go on to our predictions. And by the way, we've done horribly this weekend, and we'll start off with this one. You went for the 2-1 win to United, and I went for the 3-1 win to United. So we both started at 0 points, I'm afraid. But speaking of teams that are struggling to pick up points now, we'll move on to St Johnstone. They lost against Livingston. And when do we start saying that managers are under pressure? Because St Johnstone have only scored 4 goals all season. I don't see where their next win's coming from. Would you say that Callum Davidson, although it's his first job and we're only 9 games in, would you say that he'll be starting to feel the pressure now?
I think so, yeah, because, I mean, look at Motherwell, for example. Sometimes you can have a bad run, but you can see signs that they're going to do okay and that they've got the squad and they're still scoring goals. And that old saying in football, when, sometimes you're not playing well, but you're still creating chances, is a good sign, but with St Johnstone, it just looks like they're getting nothing going for them. Get no threat up top and defensively all over the place. So,
I mean, I think you're saying no threat up top and they're defensively all over the place, but I look at the midfield and I think they've got the likes of Michael Halloran, Murray Davidson.
yeah.
They've got players there. Craig Conway, who's a veteran, has went and done it. They've got players there that can provide. I just don't think up front are just a bit, aren't they?
Yeah, and the thing about having a good midfielder, they don't have anyone from midfield that's really that seems to be able to link up with like Stevie May and score those goals. And I think it comes down to the fact that Tommy Wright was a really top manager for St Johnstone, and I think the fans kind of underrated him. Now he's away, and I can see them going down now.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
It's that one that we spoke about last week, isn't it? Careful what you wish for, because
exactly.
Now they're toiling, and it wouldn't surprise me if they go down. But Livingston, they were a team in need of points as well. I mean, they were sitting bottom of the league going into this weekend's fixtures. So massive win for them.
Yeah, I was impressed. I was really impressed, and I thought the goal, to be fair to St Johnstone, the goals that Livingston scored were top quality goals.
I think it was the first one that came into the box and it sort of evolved about a wee bit. I thought they could maybe have dealt with that a wee bit better defensively. But a player that's really impressed me for them is James Forrest's brother, Alan Forrest. He's been a terrific signing for Livingston, hasn't he?
Yeah, and they've done really well to recover from like the things that's happened, like Anthony Stokes, for example. Like they maybe thought he was going to come in and replace, and now they seem to be kind of rebuilding. And when I was talking about St Johnstone earlier, you don't see any positive signs with them, but you can see that Livingston are constantly, working a way to try and they gave Celtic a really good game not so long ago. So they look like the team that are capable of getting out of this, and they'll climb the league.
It was weird for me with Livingston because obviously they were sitting on 5 points. They came to Fir Park against the decent Motherwell side, got a point. They got a point against Rangers, and then they went and gave a good showing against Celtic. It was as if they do the old trick that Scotland do, where they play up to the level of their opposition. Because you look at the other results, if they're given teams like Celtic and Rangers and even Motherwell, although we've been, I don't really like to talk about us, sorry. I'm still a bit annoyed with the weekend, but anyway, we've been.
Me too.
We've been. You're annoyed just as much as me because I knew it more for us, but anyway.
What was all of it?
But Livingston, they play up to the level of their opposition, so shocking that they probably find themselves in the position that they're in, given the performances they've put up against these sides.
And I think that would probably be the worry for the manager, is that maybe the mentality is not quite right, the approach isn't quite right, because obviously the qualities are, obviously the team are a good team, and if they took the approach, like you say, to these other games, the same as they have to Celtic, Rangers, Motherwell, they could really be pushing for top 4-6.
Well, I would definitely have them up there as sort of a mid-table team if they can get the points that they should be getting against the teams around them. That's what they have to improve at the moment. And speaking of having to improve, we have to improve, Kieran, because these predictions don't get any better. You've went for 0-0 here, and I've went for 1-0 to St Johnstone. I look back at the weekend, I'm thinking, what was I thinking? The both scored 4 goals all season, do you know what I mean? But
yeah. I mean,
that's a terrible start there.
I didn't see St Johnstone. I didn't really realise how bad St Johnstone really. I thought it would be a lot closer than that, and Livingston just pulled away from them. I think maybe we didn't give Livingston enough credit for the results they've had against Celtic, Rangers, and Motherwell. And when you look back at the reflection, Livingston are quite the stronger team on paper, and they showed that.
Yep. And again, I'll always say the plastic pitch definitely a factor.
Yeah, I can't agree with that.
That's like a 12th man for Livingston, if you ask me. But only a pretty dull game. I watched the highlights of this one, and there wasn't much in it at all. St Mirren v Kilmarnock. You went and done me here. Kilmarnock obviously getting a 1-0 win, and that was your prediction. And for me, going into the game next week, there's a guy that scares me, and it's the boy up front, Nicky Kabamba. He's come in and he's been absolutely outstanding. I think because as you seen it against Celtic, we mentioned it last week. He gave you 2 centre backs an absolute torrid time.
Yeah, and that's so important in this league. With, like you said, the league's so tight now, and it's those guys up top that are going to make that difference. And Kilmarnock, I've got one in him, and they're playing some good stuff. I would be worried from a St Mirren point of view, though. Like, they just seem really flat, as if they're just kind of coasting through.
I'd be worried about their mentality to react as well, because there was a few points in the second half. I mean, I take it was the highlights at the weekend, obviously. Yeah. I actually thought they were lucky to get away with not having a few sent off. Marcus Fraser went in really hard on and then Joe Shaughnessy, I think it was, absolutely clattered them as well. So it must be worrying for St Mirren, because they're the kind of team that seem if they go down, they don't have it in them to react at the moment.
Yeah, and it's never, when we talked about how everyone always says Hamilton go down and they always stay up, that's because it feels like that's because they always think we need to fit against this. St Mirren might be at that point now where they're thinking we are going to go for higher things, and they're not as focused about avoiding the drop, but with that complacency and that kind of discipline like you mentioned, it could see them fighting a relegation battle.
I don't think there's a couple of things that St Mirren do off the pitch that I don't think's helped. One of them was this week, but one of them was at the start of the season. The owner, Tony Fitzpatrick, he came out and said, "Oh, we're going to go for the top 6." I mean, they're not long up in the league. Why put that pressure on the squad before the season's even begun?
Exactly, mate, and that proves exactly what I'm saying. That they're thinking that they're kind of thinking they're more than they are right now. They're still in a scrap, and if they take their eye off the ball too much, they could, like I said, they're going to be in trouble, and they really need to start focusing on going back to the basics, go back to what got them there.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then Jim Goodwin, he came out in his post-match interview. That's another thing I wanted to touch on, and said, "Oh, we'll bounce back once I get my best 11 on the pitch." What does that say to the guys that are already in the squad? You're basically telling them that they're not good, they're not part of your plans, they're not good enough. There's people that are ahead of them. Maybe he's trying to think if I say, "Oh, these people are going to come in and take their place because they are injured for a few weeks, that I'll get a reaction next time." But that's rushing the way, isn't it?
Yeah, and you just see as a manager, if I was a player, you kind of expect the manager to take responsibility there and say, "We'll do better. This was, we'll work on this. This was on me." But to call out players, it's only going to unsettle the dressing room more, like you say, and create more problems.
So that was Saturday, and the likes of St Mirren, St Johnstone, and Hamilton, they're bottom 3 just now, and they've all got tough fixtures, which we'll go on to next week. So, but getting on to the teams who played on Sunday, you've got, first of all, we'll start off. I don't believe I need to talk about this again. I'm sick to the back case of talking about it. But the early kick-off, Motherwell got an absolute doing of the Rangers. Are you fearful as a Celtic supporter because you're just scoring goals for fun at the minute?
You know, I said last week, this is a big moment for them to show that they can be different than they were last season, that they're not going to drop points here and there. And, you know, we were questioning whether can they deal with the pressure, can they respond from the draw with Hibs? And to be fair, they came out and definitely did that. I was really surprised at how the gap between the two teams. They really played well, and I know there was penalties and stuff, but they made that kind of bounce back in that statement to say we're going to be pushing Celtic all the way through this, and it was kind of an announcement to say game on, title race is happening.
Yeah, I think that was definitely, although we were rotten, it was definitely a statement of intent from Rangers to say that we're not going to make the mistakes that we've made in the past couple of seasons. And I think that you see it as well. They bring in two players in Bassey and Jones who haven't had much game time, and I thought that they were two of the best players on the park. What do you think of their performances?
I was quite surprised at Jordan Jones, but I always think, he's always been a good player, and given the way that he was injured and how that all went down, he's probably been itching to get back and make some sort of an impact. So as soon as he got the chance, he really took it really well, and I think the difference between Rangers now and Rangers last season is that depth. They've really got a good depth now. They're bringing guys like Jordan Jones in and to have those options in those kind of games, and saying, if one player gets injured, we can bring these guys in. So the depth is there to challenge Celtic, and you can see they're fully intent on doing that.
Yep, and obviously we can't talk too much about it because it's not happened yet, but do you think that this season, going into these Europa League games in a couple of days, as we record them, do you think that these performances will be affected because of how important the league is this year?
I'd be surprised if it's not. In the past, we've seen Rangers make a couple of really good runs in Europe the past couple of seasons, but now that we're at 9, I can see the no question about it. Either side of the city, Rangers must stop it. Celtic must win it, and so I can see Gerrard's priority being the league and saying, but hopefully they can still manage both for the sake of Scottish football. But I can see maybe the two of us going out early on, a bit earlier than we have in previous years, to focus on what will be a really exciting title race.
And speaking of must win, I'm not saying it's must win in the game on Sunday there for Celtic was must win in terms of if they didn't win it, they wouldn't win the league. I think it was a must win in terms of making a statement, and they certainly did that with a 3-0 win against Hibs. As we mentioned it at the top of the show, who were the standout performers for you on Sunday?
Jeremy Frimpong, man, he has to be first name of the team sheet every week.
You said this last week. You were hailing for them to get in the team. You were
honestly.
If you wanted to put him in, and he must have been watching because he heard me. So,
well, it's just we've got so many players that are really talented, but he has a thing where he's not scared to take somebody on, and he has a different level of pace that I've not seen in ages. It's like Didier Gak, kind of like.
That's a great comparison. I've never ever thought of that comparison. That's exactly who he's like, actually.
Yeah, and it's so fun to watch, and it really offers us a different side of things. So, full fit squad, Jeremy Frimpong in the starting 11 for me.
Well, and I'm not saying this because I'm a Motherwell supporter. You're mentioning Jeremy Frimpong in the starting 11. I have to make a case for David Turnbull getting into that starting 11. I just thought, I seen the highlights, the control that he shows on the ball. It's my Celtic supporting friends, when you signed him, were going, he'll be a squad player, he'll be this and that. And I was screaming at them, I was telling them, this boy's the real deal. This boy's no mug. He actually, and people are going to laugh at me in the comments, but that's what I'm telling you just now. David Turnbull has the potential to be a world-class football player. And I'm not just saying that because the game's playing Motherwell. He can use both feet. I remember the goal against Dundee, but he used his strong foot, it hit the bar, and it came back to him on his weaker foot, and he lost it, his weak foot right into the roof of the net. The boy's 2-footed. The game he's played at his pace. I remember the English commentators saying about James Rodriguez when he got the ball against Palace. The game was played at his own pace at the weekend.
Yeah.
Exactly what David Turnbull does. He slows everything down, and players are scared to get tight to him because if they do, they know that he's just going to pick them off.
Yeah.
Got to start. Surely you must agree with me there.
I mean, 100%. See, do you know, I've never seen somebody come on and just play as if he played as if he'd been playing for years for Celtic. He just fit right in there. Like, I've never seen that. I've never seen somebody come in and just seem like they've played there the whole time for years. And so the time isn't, you know, everyone's saying we need to wait, we'll develop and all that. Put him in now. You can tell that he's got like you say, I totally agree. I think he's got potential to go right to the top. And the fact that he's not getting in for people like Brown, and I know how important Brown is to the dressing room, but as a leader, there should be a conversation about the fact that Turnbull should be playing more minutes than Brown currently is.
You make a point about Scott Brown there, but I want to touch on a player that I don't think has hit the heights that it hit last season, and that's Ryan Christie. Ryan Christie, okay, gave the ball into McGregor for the first goal of the weekend, but he's not really set the world on fire, and he's come under some criticism from Celtic supporters. Do you think that's unjust, or do you think it's fair?
No, I think Ryan Christie is one of our most important creative players. There's no question of that. But he just seems like a very kind of frustrated guy right now. He's always shooting from these crazy angles, and you're like, mate, Pat, like, what are you doing? Like, sometimes I can't remember the last time he shot, but it didn't go miles over the bar and miles wide, and you're like, just calm down a bit and play your game.
Yep. And speaking of being calm and playing his game, we spoke about Turnbull there. Do you think the fact that there was no fans in the ground when you're making, I'm going to say a debut because he's come on here and there, but when you're getting that chance to play more minutes, do you think that's going to help players like David Settle? Because
potentially, I think it will help players, but I don't think it will be David Turnbull to help. I think David Turnbull would have played the same way, fans there or not. You can tell he's got that ability. You can tell he's got the character for it as well. But I think it will help players like Kamala and Ariete, potentially more so.
And I know we spoke a bit about Celtic and Hibs fans. We will talk about Hibs. But before I do that, news coming out today that Albion Ajeti, he may be injured for a couple of weeks, which means that he's going to potentially miss the Old Firm game. Given the fact that that Edward hasn't really been playing much, he's been on the bench due to fitness issues. Surely that must be a worry going into the Old Firm game.
You know, I really was enjoying El Nusi and Ayeti up top. I thought they were really, like, you look at the goal we scored, the second one I think it was, the link-up play between the two of them was good, and he seemed really in form, so it's kind of like got to, especially when 3-5-2 was just starting to click in the first half out of that Hibs game. We were really, really sharp, and it's disappointing. But I really wonder what's going on with Edward. What, you know, Lennon saying he's not, you know, he's doing the rest and all that, but you're thinking we're only like a few weeks into this, like 10 weeks or so into the season. What's going on there?
I've heard a wee rumour that he might be going to Aston Villa, but that's
man, that would be honestly, that would be devastating. And to me, this is going to. Now, I don't want this to be the case. This is just me trying to be objective about it. I think if we sell Edward, Rangers are favourites.
I would agree with you there, particularly with the fact that if Edward goes, with Ajeti being injured, the only guy that he's got left is the guy who was on the bench for the first time in ages on Sunday, Lee Griffiths. And he's not exactly played any minutes, but can you see him getting back into the squad now that he's back in? Because he's letting Neil Lennon down, and I know mental health's a big deal, and I wish Lee Griffiths all the best, whatever is going on in here. But he's been given chance after chance. How long do you think he'll win and he'll stick with that for?
Well, the thing is that with Griffiths, like you say, he's obviously been through a lot, and so, but if you look at it from not only Griffiths' perspective, his personal issues and stuff, and you look at it from a Celtic point of view, Griffiths, I don't really have any faith in Griffiths at this point. You don't. I think he's got all the ability as a top quality player, but we don't know what's going to happen next. Not in terms of his mental health and stuff. Obviously, we'll support him and help him through that in any way we can. But in terms of how committed is he? In terms just wanting to get back and wanting to get back to the way he was before. It seems like he's not as committed as maybe as he once was.
Yep. I would disagree with you there. He might still be committed. I think that'll be proven when he comes. He'll show that when he gets his chance how committed he is. I still think that for Scotland he's a player that we need back desperately, to be honest with you, because although we'll get Shanklin and Dykes, he's the next.
Yeah, I mean, listen, mate. I hope you're right. I love Lee Griffiths. I think he's a great player, and also he loves playing for Celtic, and you can see that. And I hope he comes back and he starts firing again. But it's just been so many times there where he comes back, and then that thing about having a party or something during the lockdown was just, what are you doing with that? And so I don't know where he's at, and so it's hard for me to say. If I'm Neil Lennon, I want to sit and rely on Griffiths to be there the whole season. You can't do it. It's been years since he's got through the whole season, so if you're thinking about it from Lennon's point of view, you wouldn't want to put all your eggs in the Lee Griffiths basket at this point.
Yeah, I totally agree with that part. But Hibs, I thought that although 3-0 flattered Celtic a wee bit, particularly with the first half performance. I mean, when he came out and said that he was looking solid defensively, but see if you look at it, they had chances through Deutsch, they had one from Nesbitt as well, and then there was one that was blocked in the second half. And there was a time that Boyle got in behind Dyer. So there's still signs there that I still think Hibs are going to be pushing both the over and side this season. I think they showed enough. And I would say that they would be my favourites for third spot now. What do you think?
Oh, I definitely agree. I think they played some great football. And I said last week that we were going to be defensively vulnerable, Celtic. So we had to come out and just let them have the chances and go for it. And we did that. And we took ours and they didn't take theirs. And so, they got in a few times in behind, like you say, and then it just seemed like it was rushed. Like Deutsch got in a couple of times. There was one where he gets in past Duffy and he just smacks it over the bar wide. But he had all the time in the world to take his time and just cut it back or something like that. So I think the difference at the end of the day was that wee bit of quality in the final third of the pitch.
Yeah, and let us know, any Celtic fans watching, your opinions on the Griffith situation down in the comments. And as for fans of other teams, just let us know what you thought of your team's performance at the weekend, and give us your predictions for next week. We'll go on to that later, as I say. And I apologise if I've spent a bit more time on this. It's just there's more talking points coming out of this game at the moment than perhaps the rest of the games. But we do try and cover everyone here. And we managed to get a point here with the predictions. Kieran, we went for 3-2s and 4-2s, but you would have got 3 points there if you hadn't been so generous and given Hibs 2 goals. But nah.
Yeah, I was surprised they didn't score, to be honest.
Well, they could have easily had 2. I mean, we spoke about the chances that they did create. But anyway, on to a team that have been picking up form despite the result against Motherwell in the week last time. Aberdeen, they were impressive against Ross County. I think that's their 4th straight win in Dingwall every night. And again, I have to highlight this boy because I've seen the Scotland squad today, and he's not in, and I don't know why. And I know he's only played a couple of games with Aberdeen, but Ross McCrory, I think he's been absolutely tremendous. He just bosses every game unless he's playing Motherwell that he gets into at the minute.
Yeah, I don't. I'm very much agree, especially because it seems like he's,
He
we
can play centre
defensively.
half as well, and
That's it.
we're crying out for a defender.
Exactly, mate. That's exactly what I was going to say there. Like we're crying out for some sort of calm influence at the back, and he seems like he's fit right in there. So I don't. But it comes back to that point we made last week. If you're not playing for Celtic and Rangers, it seems like it's a problem. I don't know what. There's so many guys like Chatelain and McCorry and different guys like that deserve a chance in the team, and they're not getting it.
But yeah, and I'll be very interested in seeing how that battle is between Aberdeen and Hibs this season. I make Hibs favourites personally. Who do you make favourites for that battle?
I think the difference between the two of them, though, you can say is Aberdeen have been there and done it, so they have that squad. They have the same manager, the same squad to know what needs to be done. But I just think that Hibs have a stronger team overall, and will eventually over the course of the season pull away from Aberdeen.
And Ross County, they had a tough game at the weekend, and they've got a tough game coming up next. And Rangers, they must be looking. I was speaking at how well they've done, but they must be looking down the way over their shoulder rather than up now with the game that they've got coming up. What did you make of their performance?
I was a bit surprised at how they didn't. I thought they compete more with Aberdeen than they did. They've got off to a really good start, Ross County, and
Gave us a really tough game. Really
exactly,
tough.
mate. Exactly. But I do think they have. This is kind of a team where you're talking about probably 7th, 8th type area. In my opinion, they're strong. They're definitely strong enough to avoid the drop, but just not top 6 for sure. But at the same time, they're one of those teams that they could go and beat Rangers at Ibrox.
I think you're. I think they're with Oscar. I'm sorry,
mate. Harlan beat them last season.
And that's very true, but I don't see the same frailties in this Rangers squad that I see in the Rangers squad that dropped points to Hamilton. But anyway,
To be clear though, I'm definitely not saying Ross County will do that. I'm just saying that's the kind of yo-yo team they are. They'll get beat one week when you don't expect it, and then they'll come back and do something. Do you know what I mean? So
and they'll surprise you.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
Right. And they have got an impressive young manager for me, and the David De Gea of Scottish football, Stuart Kettlewell. He's something that really impressed me. It was interesting what they did with the co-manager thing last season, but I think this will work out better for them. I think because there's more clarity in who's in charge, and they'll be fine, as I say. I think. It's been a fine. We won this so fine here because again we've scored absolutely nothing.
I went for Ross County, man.
You went for Ross County one, didn't you?
Shocker here. An absolute shocker then.
And I went for a draw, 1 each. So we're nothing there. That was me just trying to get the 5 points. Remember, the rules are that if your team get beat by more than 2 goals, you lose a point. So I'm just trying to think if we predicted anybody here. I predicted St Johnstone to win, so I've got a minus point there. So there you go. I've only managed to score 1 point this week. And Kieran predicted Ross County to win, and Aberdeen have hammered them. So you've got 4, mate. To be honest, and there was 2 people who got involved in the comments. We'll tell you how you got on at the end of the show. We'll close with that. So please stay tuned to the end. But we're going to go and talk about something that's caused massive controversy this weekend. We're going to go and talk about dodgy hands and hands being in unnatural positions. That's why I just thought to get that one in there. But no, this is funny, mate. As I say, that's got an Oscar for the clone Toy Story. But no, but no, the handball rule. The handball rule, something that has been all over the place. It's a farce, isn't it, Kieran? Let's be honest here, it's a farce.
Have you met anyone that's saying otherwise? Do you know what I mean?
No.
I mean, everyone's saying it.
An unnatural position, sorry, you can't really. You don't want to see me attempt it anyway, because I look like a T-Rex that's been shot in the ankle when I've gone up. But anyway, but no, I'll stop playing myself now. But how it's so difficult to not make yourself bigger when you're defending. I mean, I look at the Motherwell penalties. I said that there were penalties in my blog, but that was because of the rule that has been changed in the Rangers penalty story. I don't think that they should be. I just think with the changes being made, that I can see why they were given, because I think what this has created is uncertainty amongst referees. I think referees are just going to give a penalty anytime they see the ball hit the hand now.
Yeah, it's mate, I don't understand why or who it was that thought that was a good rule. Did you see Peter Crouch's tweet about this?
No, what did he say? Sorry, I've not seen that. What did he say?
I thought that was hilarious because he was like, if I was playing now, man, every goal I scored would have been a handball. So it's just, you're wondering, like, if they can't do anything about it. I mean, we're all human at the end of the day. Like, you're taking it out, you're kind of taking something out of football with us, and we know everyone knows the difference between an intentional handball and a handball that isn't meant. And this rule, like you said, by the letter of the law, the penalty's right, but the law is wrong. The law needs changed.
Yeah, and I think it's going to create a lot of mistakes defensively, because you've seen, I think it was Man City v Leicester. The Man City defender was standing with his hands behind his back for James Maddison's goal, which basically allowed him to curl it. But this is what this is doing. This is creating defenders to act differently, and maybe
sorry, mate. That's a really good point. That, to be fair, like great example.
It may create for more excitement as fans, but I think it's alright if it's going forward, and as fans we just want the decisions to be right and to be fair. I think when push comes to shove, obviously they're not going to change it back this season. Can you see the goal tallies and the penalty tallies being through the roof?
Now you make a good point there. The stats been up, maybe causing defenders confusion and more goals. Could that be the reason that they made the rule in the first place? I
think what they were trying to do was make the game more entertaining.
Yeah.
That's what they've been looking to do. But I think there's a lot of traditionalists in football, and fans are so used to the way the game was. And the VAR has been brought in, and they're changing handball rules, and before you know it, you'll be able to be a certain amount offside before that's the way it's going. You know what I mean?
I know. Honestly, see, when you look at the rule right that they made, as a football person, you know that it doesn't make sense. So to me, they've looked at this knowing that there could be more goals scored because of it, and the only reason why they've done it is they know it will make the game have more goals and more things to talk about. But you can't account for that. Like, as a defender, what are you meant to do about it? You can't do anything about it.
The Newcastle Tottenham one, and that Newcastle's my English team, as I've often said in my live stream, for God's sake, but I can't sit here and say I was delighted with a point against Tottenham, right? But like, I can't sit here and go, oh, we deserved a penalty there, because Dyer's, he's jumping, he's not even looking at the ball. His hand just happens to be there with the way his momentum is carrying him as he falls to his jump. There's got to be some sort of sanity. There has to be some sort of sanity. So if anybody from anywhere's watching this, which I doubt because it's brand new, just do the right thing, man. Change it. Change it back to the way it was.
No, I know. I mean, mate, everybody's saying it. Nobody's came on any sort of platform and said this rule's a good rule.
To be fair, I think Callum Wilson, he said it was a great rule because it got him a goal, but no. There's been controversy made out of that, but that for me, that's a penalty because Mopey's went like this. That one's a penalty kick, and I think the dispute with that is the fact that the final whistle was blown, but the actual incident still took part in the period of the game, so the decision was right.
This is a difficult one, right? And I totally agree that it's definitely handball, definitely penalty. But I mean, how can you blow the whistle? And he ended the game. He finished do you know what I mean? So, like, surely that's not. There must be some. If they're going to have that down, they need to create a rule there somewhere because, yeah, I totally agree. Apparently, but the full whistle's gone. You can't just, like, imagine how many times the referees came out after the game and went, "We got that wrong. Sorry about that." And there's nothing you can do about it. So imagine, like, so it's like the game's finished. You blow the whistle. You can't just go, "Oh, I didn't do that penalty kick." I feel like you're right. It's definitely a penalty, but you blew the full-time whistle. Mate. You can't just go back.
I disagree. It's happened in the space of the game, and it's happened close enough to the final whistle. Had it happened in the 85th minute, in the one, obviously they would all hit it there and then. But say for talking, say right, they'd missed one, just missed one, and then they went that far back. I think because it was right at the end, and it was in that moment. Then that's what they're going to go back and give the penalty. And there's a load of there's these football conspiracy theories that go, because it was Man U, that won't happen for any other team. It will.
Yeah.
It will. But I just think it's that freak an incident, and it's the first time we've seen it that we might not see it again for the long time.
Well, fair enough, mate. Like, I can't argue with it too much because, like you say, it was the right call and it was close together, and I can understand why they done it.
I can understand your thought process there, though, and it's good for you to give a counter argument because that's what we're here for.
I guess the biggest point out of this is if I was a Brighton fan, I'd be fucking fuming at that.
Aye.
Wouldn't you?
Aye. No, you would be. You seen it in the players. Most people totally gutted, but it'll be interesting to see, and I'm sure this isn't the last time that we'll talk, because I know we spoke about VAR last week and we're speaking about it again. So I'm sure that's going to be a weekly section on this podcast, and I hope it doesn't drive people too mad, because that was one of the one things that when VAR came in, people are thinking, we're not going to have anything to talk about. It's actually giving us more to talk about than we've ever had.
I know, and I actually kind of, I'm with the thought process of that is the reason why they've done it.
I think they did this thinking that they were going to get everything spot on.
Well, if they did do that with that, then they don't know anything about football.
I don't think. I think they did it to try and get more decisions right, to give the referees help. But what they've done is they've changed the rules so much that it's confused referees. Referees.
I just mean in the sense of, like, they've looked at this, right, and any football fan like yourself or me would look at it and go, there's going to be all sorts of handballs for this, and, like, not good ones. And I agree that they were trying to do something good, but I also do think there's an element of wanting to carry those headlines, wanting to have more to talk about.
Yeah.
But that's just an opinion.
And I think we'll have plenty to talk about over the next coming week, because the transfer window is shut. This is the last week of the transfer window. Scottish football wise, back to Scottish football now, what teams for you have to strengthen, and where do they need to strengthen?
Well, I think one of the obvious ones everyone's talking about is Celtic with their left back, and for me that's a huge thing because I don't rate Taylor. I don't think he's Celtic quality, but I think that an area that people aren't talking about as much, and you could argue rightly so because of their defensive record, but for me, I think Rangers need a centre back.
Yeah, but I would agree, because I know that they've got Hallander and they've been solid defensively, but I still think that with Goldson in there, there's potential, as we've seen against Hibs for errors, so they might be looking at a centre back. But you mentioned Celtic there and the left back position. It's come out in the last few days that they're looking at Aarhus left back, the Danish left back, Kasper Højer. Obviously, you don't know much about him, but do you trust your scouting system enough to go and find the right man? And
our scouting system is so. Oh, do you know how many players we've signed where they just did nothing? You know what I mean? Like,
apparently though, Watford are looking at this guy as well. Watford in the Championship, so that's your competition.
To be fair, most of since Lennox came back in, most of the signings he has made has been spot on. So, and it's then like Julian and Ayeti and Duffy have been like those guys that came in. Then it'd be great. I think we definitely need one in though. I know I've harped on about this last week, but mate, honestly, this boy Taylor is just not. It's just not it, man. He's not it.
Because I think if you get a decent left back, right? I think if you get a decent left back, that'll allow you to play forward at the back if need be.
Yeah.
And I tell you who I would take out, and you might lose him as well. I think Ayer's too casual for me at times. You see.
It's no fair reminds me of a lot actually. David Luiz.
I can see why he's that kind of a ball playing centre half. But he don't quite get the heat of hair on him, but
aye. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's not the same level, he's not playing the same, but I just mean in the sense of like
started as a midfielder, went back to a centre back.
But it always seems like he's always kind of got some sort of mistake in him. And the only reason I think he'd be a really good midfielder for us, but the only reason why he's not getting a share of that is because we've got such a packed midfield. Yeah.
And then other teams, I think obviously St Johnstone will be looking to bring in a striker.
Oh yeah, desperately.
And same with you could argue that St Mirren need a striker as well. Motherwell said that we need a striker, but after seeing our defenders acting like Harry Houdini and doing the disappearing act at the weekend, I think we need a defender in there as well. But we're going to talk about some transfer news. Hibs, this is an absolute insult right there. Hibs are apparently interested in Alan Campbell. I'm going to let you guess how much you think Alan Campbell's worth. Right? What do you think Alan Campbell's worth? And I'll tell you what Hibs have offered.
Well, to me, in the context of how important it is to Motherwell, and also being like a really top player that I think can go far, you'd probably be wanting like, I don't know, 5-6 million.
I think 5-6 is a bit much. I'd maybe say I think we can expect to get about 2-3.
But do you know what the reason why I'm saying that? Sorry to interrupt there, but the reason why I'm saying that is because I feel like we undervalue our players. Like Turnbull should have been like a, Motherwell and these
I think
clubs.
if Turnbull had played more games, but I think if Turnbull had played more games, he'd had 2 or 3 seasons under his belt, I think he would have went for about 7-8 million. But I think because he'd only played the 6 months and then got injured, that's why we only get 3.5 for him.
Like, you're right in saying that when you look at the Scottish market, 2-3 million is probably the maximum you can expect from it at this point. But
so how much do you think Kim's offered?
Well, I'm going to say this is low to me, so hopefully it's not any lower than this, but I'm at 1 million.
£200,000.
Oh, mate, that's shocking.
His big toe and his left foot is worth £200,000.
Do you know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like an unsettled the player bid. That bid.
I think that's what they're trying to do because they know that he's out of contract at the end of the season. Exactly. And you know that we've offered them one. So Hibs are trying to get Alan Campbell to think Hibs want me here. It could go there and they could make more money. But I say this to any player that plays for Motherwell, and I'd say this to Alan Campbell as well. Don't go and test yourself in a league that you've already been tested in if you're going to leave Motherwell.
Yeah.
If you're good enough to play in the Scottish Championship, sorry, that was a wee Freudian slip there. English Championship, you're good enough to go and play in the English Championship, so go and
I mean, and it's only really acceptable if it's the top 2 in it, if it's one of the Celtic Rangers. How big a blow would that be for Motherwell if they actually
it would make us relegation candidates. That's how much we need Alan Campbell. That's how much we need Alan Campbell.
It's a bold statement, mate.
You think about it, at the start of the season, we had Turnbull and Campbell, in my opinion, 2 of the best young midfielders in Scotland. If he was both of them, you're looking at Mark O'Hara, Liam Donnelly and Liam Polworth, who's still good. But seeing amongst the 3 of them, there's not that energy. you need that engine in the middle. That's what we would lose. So no, Alan, please stay. I know I said after Aberdeen that
And
if
I want to just say the same thing.
sign you, we need to sell you, but it's getting too close now at the end of the window. Just gonna sign it, please.
And 200,000 isn't even worth it. You may as well just keep him to his contract, was it?
Yep. I would say that we could afford to not get £200,000 and lose him for nothing.
Aye.
Because he's going to give us £200,000 back. And
exactly.
Potential weak position or potential cup runs that we could get this season. That's a big yes, yeah. But anyway, obviously it was spoke about some transfers there, so we're going to go on and speak about this Hearts and Andy Halliday signing for them, because we've got a championship special coming up next week. We'll be talking about the championship games. That's what we'll be trying to predict next week, and we'll be talking about Scotland as well. So Andy Halliday signing for Hearts, that's going to make them even more favourites for that division now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Halliday is that quite like Johnny Hayes, where he, with Rangers, he always put in a shift. He always was there when they needed him. Played left back for them in times where they needed it, and he actually did really well at times. So he seemed like a really good versatile player for Gerrard, and I was surprised to let him go. And I'm even more surprised that no team in the Premiership is nicked him.
I thought Livingston he started his career there. I thought it was a no-brainer. Maybe he didn't. I know that he's had a couple of injuries in his career. Maybe he didn't want to go and play in a plastic pitch every week. But
yeah, the thing you get with Andy Halliday always is 100%, and Hearts need that to get back up and fight their way through the Championship to get back up to the top league.
Can I be honest? If we knew that we were going to lose Campbell, that's somebody that I would have taken.
Exactly, mate. That's what I'm saying. Is
to be that guy, because although he might not have as much energy, he's got enough experience up here to be in the right position defensively and stuff. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah,
I think it's a great signing for Hearts, and that'll, I think they've scored that week this season.
And they brought like a couple of players in, and you go, I can't believe they got him, like Craig Gordon as well. You're like, I know that he started career Hearts, but I'm pretty sure there's Premiership teams that would have taken both those guys.
Yep, I agree. Again, it's a goalkeeper, Craig Gordon. He went for £10 million at one point in his career. So he's obviously no mug. I'm just going to get the Scotland squad up here, because that's been released, and that's what we're going to go on and talk about next. And obviously next weekend's fixtures are earlier. Do you think that will benefit Scotland?
I would hope so. I would hope it gives players a bit more time to recover. But you never know with this Scotland team.
I know they can literally play anyway, can't they? They can be absolutely honking like they were in the last two qualifiers. They still managed to get maximum to get 4 points and be top of the group. Do you know what I mean? But it's just it filled me with no confidence. It was just like watching Kilmarnock under Steve Clarke. It was so negative. I think that we've got the players to play a more positive brand of football, especially when we're playing against lesser opposition. I wouldn't have minded us like playing that way against a Spain or the Germany. Do you know what I mean? We were playing like bloody Israel and Czech Republic. So what
see for a squad that's got like guys from Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man United. Man United, Newcastle, teams like that. Then mixed with winners from teams like Celtic and Rangers, you question. We definitely have the squad there.
Yeah,
there's definitely a squad there, but there's like this mentality of, but we almost expect to lose and not do well, and I don't know, man. But Clark just doesn't seem comfortable to me.
I don't want to talk too much about it, because we're going to talk about it next week. So I'm not going to go too in depth about that, but I'll just read out the squad in case anybody's not heard it by this point, which if you've not heard it, you're living under a rock. Our goalkeepers are David Marshall, Robbie McCrory and John McLaughlin. In defensive, we've got Liam Cooper, Declan Gallagher, Scott McKenna, Stephen O'Donnell, Liam Palmer, Ryan Porteous comes in for what I believe is his first call-up, Andy Robertson, Greg Taylor and Kieran Tierney. So there's a long list of defenders. That suggests to me that we're maybe going to play 5 at the back again. But we'll see. 5 at the back, I mean the 2 wing backs. And then we've got Stuart Armstrong, Ryan Christie, John Fleck, good to see him in there. Ryan Fraser, Ryan Jack, John McGinn, Callum McGregor, Kenny McLean and Scott McTominay. And then we've got a few strikers to choose from. Ollie Buck, Lyndon Dykes, Callum Patterson, Ollie McBurney and Lawrence Shankland. So there's your Scotland squad. Any names stand out for you there?
I think Ryan Porteous.
Somebody that we spoke about, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he.
Last week.
Yeah, he could fit right in there and be exactly what we need.
Yep, I think I would have no problems in putting him right into that back line.
It's right. Same here, mate. Definitely.
He's quick. He's got an engine. He's good in the air. Get him in, and I would play. I would play maybe either Declan Gallagher beside him. You've got McKenna there as well, but I think I would play. I think he'll probably go with Cooper actually, because Cooper's been flying for weeks, hasn't he? So I would go with Cooper and Porteous at the back. That would be my back two centre back, and then I'd love to see John Fleck in a Scotland jersey playing. I don't know about you.
Well, I think obviously he's had a really good season and doing really well. It's just a matter of getting the right. We have all these great individual midfield players. We need to start figuring out what is the best combination, and I'd like to see Fleck in there. I'd like to see some new people given a chance. And like we spoke about the back line, but for me, goalkeeper, right? I know Marshall played really well, and so he deserves to keep the spot.
John McLaughlin.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Long term, John McLaughlin's the number one in my opinion.
You seen it? He was keeping out Alan McGregor, for goodness sake. So exactly. I think if he hadn't retired for international duty, he'd still be our best goalkeeper. So McLaughlin, if he's next in line to him at club level and he's come in and done well, surely he's next in line for that Scotland spot.
Yeah, I mean, and it feels like Marshall's been playing forever, hasn't he?
Yeah, I know. I remember when he made his debut against Barcelona years ago. But I think we've covered Scotland enough there. So we'll just get through, because I know that you've got places to be today. So we'll just get through next weekend's fixtures. Aberdeen v St Mirren. How do you see that going?
Comfortable Aberdeen. I'm going to go 2-0 Aberdeen.
I think with how good Aberdeen are going forward, how solid they've been in terms of their record and how poor St Mirren have been, I'm going to go for 3-0 to Aberdeen.
So we're right the same there, right neck and neck there.
Right, okay.
Wait, St Mirren are going to win that now,
Aye, I know. It's just the way that our predictions go. Absolutely hopeless. By the way, I'm just going to apologise for my tash today as well. I don't know if you can see it, but there's more chance of me growing 2 working legs than there is a beard. I'll get that sorted for the next podcast. But no,
jealous, mate.
Well, I'm a bit jealous, mate, to be honest. Anyway, speaking of needing sorted, getting sorted, Libby, who had a good one last week, they're playing away to Dundee United. That'll be tight, won't it?
Yeah, Livingston doing well. Dundee United, Shetland to me is always going to score goals. Draw, but all of it.
Scoreline?
1 each.
1 each. I'm going to go for Dundee United 2, Livingston 1. I just think they created so many chances against Hamilton that they didn't take. But I just think that they'll find a form in front of goal, and they've got Shankland there as well. I think being at home, they'll win that one. On to what looks like an easy one on paper, but as you know, Hamilton are Hamilton. Hibs against Accies.
Do you know, they've done really well against Hibs the past couple of years, haven't they? Like, in terms of just...
I think they've went there and put in a couple of performances. I mind them going there and getting a win and me being like that. I think he'd done my count at the time or something, and I was obviously it's Hamilton and I'm a Motherwell supporter, so it was just pure raging.
They scored a... I remember watching this brilliant goal they scored against Hibs.
I'm trying to remember for the life of me who scored that Hamilton. Hamilton fans will be able to tell us in the comments, but I remember just watching it and it was a great team goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I remember that, but I was like, they just decided to play Barcelona for that minute. I was like,
but will they play like Barcelona at the weekend?
I think surely now Hibs know what's coming with them, and also they just seem like they get a bit of a stronger mentality. But are they going to go and show that? If they're going to finish third, they need to be beating teams like Hamilton at home.
Yep. So
I'm going to go 2-0 Hibs. I
will go for Hibs 2, Hamilton 0 as well. So there we go. And on to a game that's given me the fear, because I think it's a game that if we don't win, we can start looking that way instead of looking that way. If we win it, we're up to 5th. We could go up to 5th if we lose it. Given the fact that we spoke about with expecting the likes of Livingston, St Mirren and Hamilton to lose, this is a chance for us to get away, because we're only a point off the 3 result. And this is a chance for us to pull away from them a wee bit. It's Motherwell against Kilmarnock. I've got a feeling that you're going to tip Kilmarnock here. I don't know why.
Well, I tipped Kilmarnock against St Mirren, didn't I? But my football is strange, right? And I think Kilmarnock have just won, and Motherwell have just kind of put in a poor performance there. I see Motherwell wanting the result more and pushing for it. So I'm going to go for Motherwell 2-1.
I wish I was as confident as you, but I'm a bit pessimistic going into this one. But I'm going to go with my more confident prediction out of the two that I've got in my head. I'm going to go Kilmarnock 1, Motherwell 1. I can see this being a draw. So I'm going for the 5 points here. So that's Friday's games out the way. Now we've just got the two ugly sisters, as I like to call them. Joking. The old firm. So we'll start off with the early kick-off. St Johnstone against Celtic. This is only going one way.
I mean, it's one of those games, but...
I don't even tell it. You've said that with every game. It's one of the games. You think of your record there, Kieran. Yeah,
I know, mate. It should be... See, to be honest, it should be a comfortable day for both the teams. I see us winning it comfortably. Do you know?
Okay. Right, okay. So, I'm going to go for an even bigger scoreline. I'm going to go for... Because I say he's always got them do well. I think he's starting to find a bit of form going forward. I think he's got a game on Thursday night that he's expected to win and will win. I'm going to go for St Johnstone 0, Celtic 5. There you go. 5-0 to Celtic.
I hope you're right, mate. I'll take that.
Ross County away to Rangers next. That's the last one that we're closing it off with before we let the listeners know how they got on with their predictions. Ross County v Rangers, what do you think?
I think in this kind of game, they would be wishing they had David De Gea and goal, not on the touchline. And it'll be. I think I'm going to go with 3-0 again to Rangers.
3-0 with Rangers. I'm going to go higher than you again. I think Rangers solid defensively. Have players coming in. The players coming in, they're not expected to be better than the players that went out of the weekend there. And as I say, Bassey and Jones come in and done well. So they've shown that they've got a squad depth and players that can come in and do the job. And I think they will do the job again. I'm going to go for another big one. I'm going to go for Rangers 4, Ross County 0. So that's the end of the podcast for this. But before we go, we'll just get to people's predictions. Now, Sheriff 1-2. He's done really well. He got involved in the comments last week. He's went for Hamilton 1, Dundee United 1. So as you know, for the draw here, if you get the correct score in the draw, you get 5 points. But I didn't make this clear last week. See if you say 0-0 in the draw, and it ends up 1 each, it's still the standard 3. But he went for 1 each, Hamilton Dundee United, and it was 1 each, so Sheriff is off to a brilliant start there with 5 points. He then went for St Mirren 1, Kilmarnock 2, so he gets a point for that. That's him on 6. He's went for Livingston 1, St Johnstone 0. He's racking up the points here, by the way. That's him on to 7. 7 points.
What are we doing here, man? We should be the one who's got
I think we're going to I'm going to not have you on the podcast next week. He's went for Motherwell 1, Rangers 2, so that's him all the way up to 8 points. And it gets even better for him. What do you think he's went for the Celtic game?
See, well, based on what you said, surely he's went for 3-0.
He's went for 3-0, so that's him up to 11 points. Then he's he's unlucky here because he's went for Ross County 0, Aberdeen 2.
So, that's so close. See,
there you go.
Didn't you ask him if he put a coupon on that, man?
I know, because he got the result right. If he went for it, he don't want a coupon. So Sheriff, you must be kicking yourself then. But no, if my calculations are right, that is 5, 7, 12 points for Sheriff, so he's well in front. But Grant McRoberts, he's getting involved in the comments. Grant, you've commented each of your scorelines separately, which is fine. I'm still reading them out, but it's in future if you can, just put them on the one comment, mate, so I don't scroll through these here. But you've went for Livingston 1, St Johnstone 0, so you get a point for that. By the way, the listeners are informed here because he gets 3 points here. He's went for Hamilton 2, Dundee United 2. So he gets 3 points for the draw. As you know, you get 5 if you get the score right. So he's up to 4. He's gone for St Mirren 2, Kilmarnock 3. That's another point, up to 6. Rangers 3, Motherwell 0. Season 1, 7. Aberdeen 2, Ross County 0. Season 1, 8. But in his profile picture here, I can see that he's a Rangers fan. And he's went for Celtic 0, Hibs 0. So he didn't quite get the cut in either. He just, I think, went with his heart there and hoped that Celtic would drop points. He's on 8 points. You've got Sheriff on 12, and me on 1, doing horribly here, and you on 14. So, but I get involved because we want as many people to get involved in this. Let me know your predictions, what you think about the upcoming weekend fixtures, and if you want to comment on the last weekend performance, then you can do that as well. Celtic fans, what do you think about the Jetty situation, your signings, and do you think that Lee Griffiths will come good? And Rangers supporters, do you need any more people in, or are you happy with your squad? Thanks for watching again, and Kieran, thank you very much for joining me. And you can follow Kieran's podcast. It's at All About Ability podcast. Am I right there, Kieran? Right?
Yeah, it's on Spotify and iTunes, and our episode just came out Sunday there with the Australian boxer. It's going in really well. A lot of people enjoying it, so check it out.
Okay, and you can follow A Different View on Twitter and on Instagram. It's at A Different View Scott for both of them. But thanks again for joining us. And we'll be back around about the same day next week. Cheers. See you soon.